Hey guys, what's up? My name is Shanerator. Quirks. That's the topic that I would like to look into today. But first, allow me to introduce you to a couple of my friends. This is Brooke. Say hi, Brooke. And this is Lola. Say hi, Lola. They are absolutely perfect. But we are not here to discuss Brooke or Lola. We are here to talk about Duke. This is Duke, the individual in question. There are a few good facets to Duke, two to be exact. First, he was deceptively cute. And secondly, he was AKC certified. Both of those seemingly positive traits are kind of eclipsed by his qualities on the other side of the tracks. His quirks. I suppose that quirks might be a bit of an understatement. I think a more accurate term would be intellectual deficiencies. I even compiled a mini list that I came up with in just under 2 minutes. So again, to preface this, Duke was cute, he was very interactive, he loved people, and he was very much a happy-go-lucky kind of dog. But all of that is kind of dwarfed in comparison to all of the characteristics he exhibited, those quirks, or rather intellectual deficiencies that I spoke of. In other words, he was a dumb dog. Here we go. As one might know, dogs tend to mark their territory by urinating on that spot. Duke was no exception. It wasn't too uncommon for him to go up to a tree or a bush in order to mark his territory, but there was one exception. He would not only pee on the object that he was aiming at, he would also pee on his leg. So it wasn't a complete rarity for Duke to come into the house with his thighs kind of dripping in this foreign yellow liquid contaminant. Duke also seemed to be a big fan of attention. The problem is, at the time, we owned 3 dogs. We had our Rottweiler Lexi, Duke's more intelligent sister Hina, and then of course, Duke himself. Out of the 3 dogs, I would venture to say that Duke received the least affection. Not that he really cared, and it's not like we were horrible owners either. A big part of the reason was due to the fact that he always reeked. As soon as you pet the dog and then smelled your hand smelt of wet dog, even if Duke himself was completely dry. The foul odor subset of Duke also kind of coincided with his breath. His breath, by comparison, smelled of kind of a horrible menagerie between compost, the Black Plague, and vomit. Hopefully this sort of justifies our reasoning for not petting him too much. But Duke never held it against us. In fact, I don't think he ever held anything. Not in his mouth or in his brain. Consequently, Duke was one of those dogs who loved any kind of attention. He would even deem negative attention better than no attention at all. This fact was made evident through our Rottweiler Lexi. Lexi was what we'd like to call the alpha dog. She was the dog that asserted her dominance over the other 2. It was fairly common for her to very adamantly defend her food bowl and snap at any other dog that came close. Duke loved this. Like I said, Duke never really held anything. When you set his bowl of food in front of him, he was always the first dog to finish. He swallowed it whole, as if his teeth served no purpose in being in his mouth. After he licked his bowl clean, he would then look over to Lexi's bowl. Lexi, by contrast, was kind of a slower eater. Duke's sister Hina would catch on real quick and would leave Lexi alone. Duke, on the other hand, loved messing with Lexi, likely due to the fact that he got attention from his progressive advances, and not the good kind of attention. You see, what he would do is he would inch closer and closer to Lexi as she was eating her food. Lexi would growl, and Duke would freeze. He would freeze until Lexi's anger subsided, and at that point, Duke would inch forward once more. Rinse, wash, repeat. Eventually, there came a point where Duke advanced so close that Lexi decided to pounce on his face very aggressively and bite the side of it, warning him to stay away from her food. Because what would happen is Duke would immediately flatten himself to the ground and use his ears to cover his eyes like 2 little shields. And as Lexi chewed on the side of his face, Duke enjoyed every second of this, shown clearly by the rapid wagging of his tail, which intensified the more that Lexi attacked his face. Heroes come in all shapes and sizes, and in a variety of different forms. I can't say that Duke was ever my hero, except for one day where he actually dressed for the occasion. Back before my family got smart and kept the giant bags of dog food in trash containers, sometimes we simply left the bags of dog food on the porch. Not necessarily the best idea. One morning, upon going to the porch to feed the dogs, I noticed that the big bag of dog food that was normally on the porch was completely gone. I see this yellow Labrador sprinting across our yard. It was Duke. But it was more than Duke that was sprinting across the yard. Keeping up pace with him was our 60-pound dog food bag. It was empty, and Duke was wearing it like a cape. What had happened was he had finished off the rest of that dog food and actually chewed through the bottom of the bag and never quite got his head out of it. And so instead what happened was he got his head through this makeshift hole in the bottom of the bag, turning it into what appeared to be a cape. A giant cape that kind of restricted his ability to run, but increased my family's ability to laugh. He was quite the sight, running around, tripping over the bag at his feet, and then getting right back up with that bag kind of flowing in the breeze, like an underdog cape. I could go into many other stories about Duke, like about the time where he created a slimy wall of dookie on the front of his kennel for unbeknownst reasons we still speculate on to this day. But that's a story I'll save for a different time. Thanks for watching.